Hello, good evening, and welcome to Prog Chattery 777. Well, this is the first in my latest series. We're talking about Kate Bush, and we're beginning at the beginning. This is her debut album, The Kick Inside. And, my goodness, what a debut album this is. Again, we're not really talking, in prog terms, for this album, I'm not going to be talking about, the bass solo in this and the guitar solo in that. This is a songwriter album. Most of her albums are. I mean, she is an exquisite songwriter. But again, as a debut, this album is just astonishing, especially when you consider the fact that she was a mere 19 years old when this was recorded. And the songs that are on this album were, written during her, teen years. This album is just a remarkable display of maturity as a songwriter, and it really is phenomenal stuff. I think, obviously the whole prog question, is Kate Bush prog? I think that brings up the topic of how she was discovered. She was quite young, maybe 18, 19 or whatever, and she'd been writing these songs since she was just a little kid. And, either it was David Gilmour of Pink Floyd, or it was someone who knew someone who knew someone who knew Dave Gilmour, or whatever the circumstances. David Gilmour had heard some of her music, and, he had a lot of influence in getting people to, get behind her and help her produce this album. And there's a huge list of musicians that contribute to this. So there was a great effort to get her out there and get her known. And this goes into a whole different topic about she had the big the big money promotion deal behind her that gave her that jump start. But very early on in her career, she wanted total control, and she took control. In these early days, they really tried to, market her for a female body, and obviously she was just a very beautiful young woman, and that was the obvious marketing thing to do. But she stood by her guns, and she ended up taking total control over her art and over her videos, over her music, over everything. She gained control over her career at a very early stage, which is that's impressive. That's that's something. Whoa, gosh, I'm sorry, I almost dropped the record. That would have been horrible. Goodness, I've lost my place. But yeah, it is a phenomenal debut album, and it's really working within It's working within a pop framework, but it is very progressive pop. It's very adventurous pop. We're introduced to her wonderful mastery of melody, and we're introduced to her lyrics. I mentioned, I sometimes think there's a Peter Hamill influence in there, because some of the topics that she tackles, on this album, and indeed of subsequent albums, she deals with some difficult subject matter, which is phenomenal. So yeah, we'll talk about the songs then, shall we? The first side opens with Moving, and absolutely haunting. It opens with a bit of whale songs. We get some nice, warm atmospheric tones, and the song comes in just it's so lovely. We're introduced to Kate Bush, the pianist, as well. We hear her play the piano, and she's a very tasteful player, really. The song is inspired by, was it Lindsay Kemp, I think is the name? He was a dance that I was talking about mimes, but he's a dance guy, and Kate Bush trained with him for a little bit, and that was incorporated into the live show for the tour for this album, the only tour she would do until 2014. And for the videos that she would do. This Lindsay Kemp guy was the dance instructor. And it really is like I said, it's a very haunting piece, and there's some great lyrics in there. Just the intelligence behind it. Beauties with your beauty's potency. There's a very sophisticated use of language on display. It's great. So I really love Moving. It's a great piece. The next song is the Saxophone Song, and who'd have thunk we get a great little bit of sax playing on there. And it's quite good. It leads into the album quite nicely. It's a kind of a bouncy pop number, really. Yeah, it has its melancholy. As a lot of her stuff does. You know, I've said before, her music has the power to lift your heart to the heavens or break it. You know, it's immensely powerful stuff. It's not immense quite yet. You know, these are still formative songs, but you know, that melancholic vibe is present here for sure. The saxophone song is good, but it's not the best thing she ever did. Track 3 is Strange Phenomena. This song I really like. You know, again, these are short, poppy, melodic songs, but you know, they not only is there a great hook to a lot of these songs, in particular, you know, Strange Phenomena has got a great hook to it, but there's just a rich, there's such a rich production. Like I said, there's a lot of musicians that were on board to record this, and it's very well produced. Um, Kate Bush wasn't producing her own records at this point. You know, she was still quite young, and this whole recording thing was a whole new process and a whole new experience for her. So she wasn't in total control, but you know, she was obviously under good guidance because you know this album and the following album sound very good, very good sound. The next track is Kite, and this one it's a little bit forgettable. It's probably my least favorite on the album. It's one that you know it's never stuck with me. Maybe a lot of people really like it. I don't know. It hasn't. It doesn't quite do it for me. Nice lyrical reference to Beelzebub though. Beelzebub. I can never say that right. The devil. The next song, track 5. This is one of the defining moments of the album, and it's one of the defining moments of Kate Bush. The Man with the Child in His Eyes. It is utterly stunning. Again, it's just a love song, but you know, the arrangement is just so well done, and you know, even though lyrically it is a simple love song, you know, there's a great sophistication to it, and there's you know, and the delivery of her vocal and the melody is so perfect, and you know, there's some orchestral arrangements that are brought in there, and when that chorus hits, you know, it's one of those moments in her catalog where it's just, you know, it can really hit you. It's very powerful stuff, and you know, she was 19 when this was recorded. I mean, she could have been well younger when she did Man with a Child in His Eyes, and that's something that someone far beyond her age at the time would write. You know, not a teenager. It is absolutely incredible, and hard to talk about. You know, there's a lot of songs in the catalog where I'm just gonna say I can't talk about it because it's too beautiful. So yeah. The next song that finishes the album, this is the big song. This is the real famous one, Wuthering Heights, which is about Wuthering Heights, of course. And it is utterly unique. I don't think there's anything quite like it. Again, there's this great emotional intelligence to it with the melody that you know, it almost comes in waves. You know, the melody is. You know, it's not a normal melody where you get the sound of it and you're like, oh, that's nice, and then it repeats a little bit later. You know, Wuthering Heights, it just kind of flutters like the wind, and the way her voice delivers it is just incredible. It doesn't repeat itself too much. It just, you know, it's like almost like a roller coaster. You know, it's up here and then she's down singing down here, and you know, I think a lot of people talk about her voice as being, you know, this high, you know, she's a very high singer, but she's got an incredible range to her. I mean, I don't know, I think it's the erraticness of some of the melodies that freak people out at the start, but you know, once you get it and it clicks, it is immensely powerful. And you know, Wuthering Heights is a great example of that. You know, it can really hit you, and it comes in waves. You know, the way the melody works, it just, you know, the song gradually builds and it keeps washing over you, and you know, the experience is something it's totally unique. I can't think of anything else like it before or since. It's utterly wonderful. Then we flip the album over. We get to side 2. We get James and the Cold Gun, and this is a great contrast to Wuthering Heights. You know, we get that we get the emotional kick with Man with a Child in His Eyes and Wuthering Heights, and then James and the Cold Gun is a nice, you know, it switches things off. We get kind of a nice little punchy rocker, and it adds to the diversity of the album, and you know, it shows, you know, there's a great range of material on there. So it's quite nice. It's got a nice outro too. Then we move to track two of side two, "Feel It." This is a topic that would become regular in her catalog. The topic of sexuality, and "Feel It" is it is quite an erotic song. Let's be honest. Um, but the way that she deals with that topic is so good, and when I listen to Kate Bush talk about sex, it really bothers me how convoluted and how wrong other artists do. You know what I mean? It's I'm gonna sound like an old man, but it's very smutty, isn't it? It's a very smutty experience these days. Whereas when Kate Bush talks about the topic, it's a celebration of life. It's a celebration of the experience and the sensual world. That would become an album later. So yeah, that's certainly well worth noting. Obviously, it's a difficult topic to discuss, let alone write about in a song. But she's absolutely wonderful at it, and yeah, this is the "Feel It" is kind of the introduction to that thread of songs, and it's very good. Musically, it's very subdued. We just get Kate Bush at the piano, and again, she's such a very tasteful player. Fantastic. Then we get "Oh to Be in Love." It's kind of a typical song of the album. It's in the vein of the Saxophone Song. It's light rock, but it's light pop rock really. But it's got a good hook to it. Again, it's just such a joy hearing her voice. The next song, "L'amour Looks Something Like You." Another song dealing with the topic of sexuality. And it's good. I think I like "Feel It." I think I like "Feel It" a little bit more. "Feel It" is more. I think the music works better with the topic. I don't know. Difficult to talk about. It's difficult to be critical of this stuff. My goodness. The next song, we're getting to near the end of the album now, is "Them Heavy People." Apparently this song is about Gurdjieff, which is he's the guy that inspired Robert Fripp to leave King Crimson and pursue higher education and come back to the music scene as a better educated being. I don't know anything about Gurdjieff, but I know that he's a philosopher and he was very influential, and I think it's really cool that Kate Bush was writing a song about the guy. And the essence is "Them Heavy People." "Them Heavy People" is about learning and about gaining education, and I think she kind of makes reference to her own age. Particularly when you're young, gain as much knowledge as you possibly can to prepare yourself for the oncoming onslaught of life. So I think that's what that song kind of deals with, and it's a great pop number. It really, in essence, it's just a pop song. Musically, there's nothing too wild or extravagant about it, but it has a wonderful hook. I love the hook to it. Very catchy, and it's one that resonated with me right from the start. First time I heard it, and the more I got into the lyrics, the more I said, this is pretty solid song, heavy song. That's all good. Then we get to the second last track on the album, "Room for Life." This is an interesting song where we're, I think I mentioned, I may have mentioned in the intro, her subject matter is very deep, and she tackles heavy subjects, but she also does it from the female perspective. And what we get with "Room for Life" is a song about the womb, and a song about the experience of owning one. So again, there's a great intrigue there as a male listener, I suppose. But it just goes to show how daring she was as a songwriter. I mean, and she was tackling topics that were very taboo at the time, and probably still taboo today, really. And that's a sign of a very daring and great songwriter. I commend her for doing it. And the music itself is, the music on all of this album is very, very good. So it goes with that whole sequence of lovely, pleasant sounding music. And the album wraps up with the title track, "The Kick Inside." Again, we're back to just Kate Bush at the piano. We get her lovely, very understated and classy piano playing. And the lyrics are inspired by a traditional English folk song. I forget the name of it, unfortunately. Is it in the lyrics? I don't think so. No, it's not. But it is influenced by a traditional English folk song that regards a woman who is pregnant with her brother's child, and the brother kills the woman. So again, we're talking heavy subject matter, difficult subject matter, and again, obviously it's a traditional folk song, but for her to put this on what was being promoted as a big pop album, that's very daring. And it's disturbing. It's music that can make you uncomfortable if you know what she's singing about. And that's just the kind of stuff that I like. I like artists that challenge the listener, and this album certainly does that. So I think I've wittered on about it long enough. It is a phenomenal debut. I don't think it's the best thing that she did, but I think there's a lot of better things yet to come. But like I said, for a first album by a 19-year-old lady, it is really quite something. A 19-year-old anybody, I should say. Gosh, that'll get me in trouble on YouTube. Oh no. But all that aside, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. And hit me a subscribe, send me a like, send me a comment, and we will see you in the near future when I'll be talking about her second album, Lionheart. So we'll see you then. Thank you very much.